It's a step in the right direction.
Hey everybody, we're back again for Gen Z Reviews, episode 29. Still crazy to think this is almost the 30th stream we're doing. And it looks like Luke is not in the room.
I'm waving.
Me. It's just me. You are literally a black screen, my friend.
I'll figure it out.
All right, it's all right. I guess I'm flying solo. Luke's a ghost right now. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
You feeling good? Nice.
Yeah, pretty dark right now.
This is a weird movie we're all going to be talking about,
bizarre.
guys. Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth. And before we get into like the actual like meat and the potatoes about this movie, I'm excited to talk about our expectations, Luke, because what I thought this movie was going to be versus what it actually was, two totally different things. So I'm definitely excited to get into it. But before we get into the meat, the potatoes, we got to introduce the rest of our guests, right? It's not just us. We have the pleasure of being joined by two horror fanatics, Nadia and World War Joe. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Good to see you. Good to see you both. Nadia and I, we were just talking about how much we admired the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal and her adorable little pumpkin character she has on her microphone.
A little boo. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, horror is my jam, right? That's my channel's focus. So I'm happy to talk about this movie, especially one of my favorites, probably of all time, probably in the top 10.
And you've had some experience with FX work, is that correct?
Yeah, I used to do special effects makeup in Hollywood for about 13 years and such.
Nice.
So yeah, creature design was always my favorite. So this definitely, pulled on some heartstrings of like some things I enjoy. So I'm excited to talk about it.
That's awesome. Great. Well, we appreciate you guys joining. Before we get into it, though, thankfully, it's been a big week for the channel here. I'm finally monetized, so thank you to everybody that came and supported us last week. That was awesome. I also, something that was even a little bit more exciting for me than getting monetized was the memberships. I think the memberships are so fun because I've been waiting quite a while to do fun membership videos. I have so many ideas of little aspects of my nerdy life that I want to film and put on there. So if anybody's interested in supporting the channel and checking out our memberships, I know it's kind of tiny here. Don't really know how to show this, but I have two different memberships now available. If you're interested in supporting the channel, like I said, we have the Brawlers Brawn. That's the lowest tier. And then the next tier up is the Band of Brawlers. And, under the Band of Brawlers tier, I'm going to be posting a lot of fun little videos about just nerdy things I pick up day to day. I order a lot of DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, and I always want to show them off and talk about those, kind of inspired by Wilkie, of course. And I also just have a weird, strange, nerdy life of a lot of different nerdy venues, my art, conventions I go to, the different shows that I'm a vendor at, sometimes even talking to people at different conventions. So I'm excited to update this. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check that out. But if not, no big deal at all. Let's get right into the story, though, because this is, wow, what a strange movie this is. Luke, but before we get into the story, what did you think this movie was going to be?
I don't know. I was just told it was a fantasy film. Because one of my buddies read the book and he said it was pretty decent. But
oh, nice.
Just jumping into the film, it was just all thrown in my face. So I didn't know what to expect after we started the film. Yeah.
Well, we were both pretty surprised it was in Spanish. First off, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I did not
I was
know
wondering that when I rewatched it. I was like, I wonder if the
Yeah.
guys know it's going to be fully in Spanish.
You know what? At first, I was a little like, oh man, come on. It's like, okay, but there's something weird about it where it feels like even more immersive, like you're entering a fantasy world in itself. Because I don't like, if I'm ever watching anything dubbed, I don't think it's ever Spanish. I don't think I've ever watched a Spanish film where it's in Spanish. I've heard like Korean or Japanese. I've never heard this. So I think I enjoyed it a little more that way. I thought it was more immersive. I also had some weird thoughts because at first I thought that this was going to be a very different story. You kind of make up ideas in your head as you based on what you think a movie is going to be, I've thought about Pan's Labyrinth ever since I was a little kid, of course, because of that haunting image of the pale man and the goat person. For the longest time, I thought the goat person was going to be a girl. I thought it was going to be almost like a freaky, cute character that leads the little girl Ofelia through a maze of horrifying mysteries in order to escape this wicked forest. And yeah, that was not the case here at all. I think I would have rather it played out that way, but yeah, nevertheless, that was my expectation. Very different than the actual thing that happened. Before we get into it, I just saw that Proctophile, he gave us my very first super chat. Thanks, Proctophile. First, suck it blue. Oh, come on,
Gary's
Proctophile.
broken.
For the first super chat, you gotta be positive, man. But thanks, I appreciate it.
You can get a nice hot pocket with that.
Yeah, right. And then YouTube takes half, so it's like
Yeah,
it's
30%.
yeah, there you go. So, thank you, though, Proctophile.
You
We
could get an
appreciate
Arizona
you.
tea. There you go.
There you go. That's still cheap, right?
Can of Mountain Dew.
Can of Mountain Dew. That's right. But yeah, just talking about the story in case people are not too familiar with it. Let me just pull up a picture here. Yeah, so Pan's Labyrinth, it takes place during an interesting period in time. At first, I was pretty confused, like where we were. So I had to look into it because they really just kind of launch you right into this period of the past. It takes place during 1944, during the early years of Francisco Franco's dictatorship in Spain. And the war is officially over at this point in time, but there are small rebel groups. They're called the Maquis, and they're still hiding out in the northern Spanish forests, fighting against the fascist regime. So, of course, in this story, that is a pretty major element of this movie, which to me was distracting and a little disappointing because I wanted to be, thrown into this fantastical world more than kind of a bleak, military story like it was. But nevertheless, it follows a young girl named Ofelia. I know her better as her appearance in Kevin Costner's The New Daughter, which is not the best horror film, but I've always loved that one. It's a fun watch if you're ever looking for a weird film to see with Kevin Costner as a horror movie character. It's very strange. But Ofelia, she's traveling with her sickly mother to live with her new cruel stepfather, Captain Vidal, which is pretty much, a Spanish representation of Hitler, pretty much. He's pure evil, no love in his heart at all. The only bit of compassion he has is for his unborn son. And other than that, this whole movie, we're just kind of waiting for a moment where we see any sort of hint of a human within this person. But, when they're up here, they go to this mill, and it's run by Captain Vidal and his soldiers, and they're hunting for rebels in the forest. And those rebels, they're posing a lot of problems for these soldiers in this hill. And it's kind of a lot of the time we're following the story as a conflict between those two forces, while more so in the background to me, or kind of shared space, we also are taken into this fantastical world where Ofelia discovers an ancient labyrinth. And while she does so, she's she's alerted to visit this labyrinth by this strange little fairy character that appears to her in a room. And it leads her to the labyrinth. She goes down into this labyrinth, which is I guess it's like a collection of ancient rocks, which I didn't know. I learned that here. Pretty interesting. And within this, I didn't know what that was. So I was always curious what Pan's Labyrinth, what does that even mean? So, but when she goes down into this space, she meets the Faun, who's this freaky goat character, like I was talking about earlier, a much different character than what I imagined. He's old. He's kind of you could tell that he's got a really weird, wicked past, or that he's just kind of, ambiguous. You don't really know what he is. And that makes for an interesting dynamic between him and Ofelia, because you don't really know what the relationship is, if he's like a friend, if he's a mentor, if he's actually leading her down a dark path. It makes for an interesting development throughout the movie. And you're kind of guessing what's happening here. Is he a friend? Is he a foe? And he kind of reveals a weird secret that she is not who she thinks she is. She is a lost princess of an underworld kingdom. And, once this revelation appears, everything just gets weird from here on out. And in order to return home to this to this completely different reality that he promises to her, which is true, she has to do 3 very strange challenges, which are quite dangerous. And each one of the challenges kind of blur the line between reality fantasy. And as the violence grows around her, Ophelia, she kind of has to find a way to escape where she is in the real world in order to get into this much better world, which for whatever reason, she is royalty within it. So very interesting, strange movie. But without getting into these challenges, because I think these 3 challenges are probably the most interesting aspects of the entire film, entertainment wise, at least. I was kind of wondering what you guys thought. Do you think that each one of these challenges was supposed to like pose lessons for her to learn, to maybe mature, or do you think that each one of these had like a certain meaning? Just speak in general terms, because we're going to get into each one of these one at a time.
I would say yes, each one was supposed to have some kind of a message or value to it. I don't remember off the top of my head what they were, but I don't think it really impacted the story that much, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they were designed to do that, but I bet there's like a bigger deep dive that goes into it in more detail, probably.
Well, it seems like, the first challenge, I don't think dictated much story wise. I think the second one has a huge, like, there's one choice that's made in the second one. And something I respect about that choice being made was the consequences that came from it. I don't think there's very many opportunities or examples in movies where you see one choice you make lead to so many consequences that accrue over time, and this movie just does it wonderfully. What do you think, Nadia?
Well, I mean, each challenge is in a sense a step towards immortality. That's initially something that she's obtaining because she's going to become this immortal princess that goes into this underworld where her real parents are. So I think each challenge it does blur reality because it's almost a period piece with a dark fantasy, like a fairy tale added on top of it, because it takes real world things that have happened during the Spanish Civil War. So I think it's a mix of her blurring the lines of what is real and what is not during these challenges. To me, it always looked as if the opposed guerrilla style camps were, in a sense, the fairies were like a metaphor for them, because they're always in the woods and stuff. So like her as a kid, because we're looking at this from a perspective of a child. So it's her imagination that we're watching this narrative, blossom out to.
Ooh, those fairies. I love the fairies of this story. They're so much fun.
The bug fairies.
Yeah. Nadia, real quick before we go into the first challenge, what makes this movie one of your favorites? Because that's a pretty big statement.
It is. The storytelling. I love Del Toro's stuff. I've loved him all back since The Devil's Backbone, which is another movie that takes place during the Spanish Civil War. I love the creativeness that goes into it and how he allows a story, and also the fact that there's sometimes not happy endings, right? This is not a happy ending for the most part in this movie. And I like that because real fairy tales, which I'm really into kind of like dark fairy tales and fairies and all that kind of stuff. They're scary. Like fairies are scary. If you actually do the folklore and urban legends of fairies, they're actually terrifying creatures. Like you do not want these things in your life. So I love that he's able to take those aspects and not kind of sugarcoat it like Disney does on screen. And I think he's a master at visually telling the story throughout the movie. And this one is definitely one of them. This one and Crimson Peak was my one of my second favorite movies that he's ever done.
I bet you're pretty hyped for Frankenstein.
Frankenstein? Heck yeah. I am.
I hope it's great. I need that. I need a really good new scary movie.
I do want to. It's not going to be a scary movie. It's going to be so Crimson Peak went through the same issues where it was marketed as a horror movie. It's not a horror movie. It's a gothic tale. To me, that's what Frankenstein's going to be. But I want to shout out in this movie Doug Jones, who plays the Pale Man and the Faun, who is a underappreciative actor, I think, who doesn't get enough shout outs. He's played in a lot of Del Toro's films, he's a body actor in a sense, because he's such a lean, you'll see him. I mean, he was in Hocus Pocus as well. So I've loved his career.
I would say the opposite. I would say Doug Jones is probably on the Mount Rushmore of body actors. And Whenever
Oh,
there's a
he's
movie, it's like he's always in it.
of body actors, yes, but I mean, in overall, when people think of actors, they don't
Yeah.
mention him. He's not.
Oh yeah,
You kind of have to know who he is and the type of work he's done before.
Was he the
So
voice of the Faun as well? Do you think?
that's what I was looking, and I couldn't find today any thought of. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if
Yeah.
he learned
'Cause
Spanish.
he's also a
because
Silver
he doesn't speak-
Surfer.
Yeah,
Right.
Shape of Water too. It was really good with him in it.
Mhm.
Also,
Shape-
Del Toro did that one as well, right?
yep, and Hellboy, he's in it as well.
Hellboy.
Ooh,
Okay, I
Hellboy,
thought he
okay.
did the Hellboy movies. Okay, nice. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's special. I remember I used to see Doug Jones at pretty much every convention I went to. Have you met him yet, Ned?
No, unfortunately,
No, that's
no.
surprising. You went to a cool
Mhm.
convention recently. It was like outdoors. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was like a horror car show convention
Yeah.
out here in Vegas and stuff, and I got to meet some really cool people. Jingo Bailey, who played in The Grudge. I got to meet somebody from Stranger Things, so it was pretty cool.
Wow, nice. That's sweet. Wait, real quick before we move forward, I gotta learn the etiquette here. I got a few more super chats. Thank you guys so much. That's cool. Oh, and Nadia, 5 gifted memberships. That was nice. I didn't see that coming. Wow, thanks. I kind of like. I have to figure out what that exactly means. That means 5 people get a month's
Random in your
membership.
chat.
Wow,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Thanks. That was
But
cool.
they're not popping up that they hit, so I don't know if memberships are being wonky again. Sometimes
it
you
says
learn
it's
that
on here.
it does, but in the chat itself, it'll actually tell you who gets hit by the
Oh.
memberships. So if that doesn't pop up, memberships might be wonky right now. Not yours, just overall. This has happened to many creators. Like it just doesn't go through. So just let me know. But yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Proctfall. Oh, and here we go. Look at that. Proctfall's now being nice with $5. Don't worry. Got you, Blue. Thanks, Proctfall. And Blue's here as well. Thanks, buddy. $5. Proud of you, Jackson. Happy you got monetized and having to deal with Nadia for 2 hours. You're already paying. Great film. It's one of the 8 she's seen. Oof, man, that's a dig.
I'm gonna
Oh,
be a lady on this stream. I'm not gonna swear like I usually do, but he knows what I'm thinking right now.
Jeez, Blue's bad. He's a bully. Oh, and look, Wilkie's here too, saying what's up for $5. Thanks, Wilkie. We love you. We appreciate you. Hope you appreciated the shout out. But here, let's we'll get back to the chat a little later. Let's get right into the first challenge because this was really strange. I did not. This is something, I feel like a lot of imagery has been just peppered all over the place with Pan's Labyrinth. Of course, the Pale Man and the Faun, a few other things. But I've never seen anything related to this weird toad character. And of course, the first challenge that the Faun gives to Ofelia to go back to her true reality in this strange other world, she has to retrieve a golden key from the belly of this giant toad living beneath an ancient fig tree. So she ends up getting herself into a muddy mess, burrows down into this rotting tree, and while she crawls through the mud and slime, she is really in this really disgusting, dank environment, really gross situation. And she seems to handle all of this really well, especially with what happens with this poor toad. So she comes, she's trying to figure out what she has to do here. Okay, of course, this toad's here for whatever reason. This toad has this key, this vital key inside itself, and she's noticing some strange things about her surroundings. This toad's fat, it's enormous, it's living in isolation, it's all alone, and it's pretty much living in its own spoil. There are these giant roly-polies all over the place, and he's just snacking on them like there's no tomorrow. And, at the end of the day, this is the reason why he's so fat and he's so isolated, because he's just baking and bathing in this luxurious life. When it comes to a toad, doesn't really get much better than that. There's no competition, nothing else. And he's got all this luxury just to himself. So she uses this against him. She grabs a pile of these, gross roly-polies, and she has these weird magical stones that, for whatever reason, once they enter the toad's body, they're supposed to, I don't know, erupt or have some sort of magical reaction which will cause her to retrieve the key. I don't think she understood that the toad would die from this, because the toad, he extends his long tongue, picks up the pile, unknowing of what was to come, and then he consumes the pile with the magical rocks, and then all of a sudden, just like this picture shows here, he just kind of vomits his entire, all of himself, and he's dead. He's just dead right on the spot. And there was a lot to like take in here. Like, is this supposed to mean something deeper? Because this is such a strange shortcut challenge, and I had a hard time finding a deeper meaning here. What did you guys take from this engagement?
Well, after
my
every... Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, you first though.
After every task, reality gets worse. So if you actually compare what's happening in reality, so during task 1, you have the captain is shown torturing the rebel and killing the farmer and the son in cold blood. And the housekeeper secretly aids it, but her mother's health deteriorates after while task 1 is happening. Task 2, same thing, like something gets worse. I'm sorry, that's task 2. That's task 1 with it. So every time she does a task, her actual reality gets worse and worse.
Well, that's weird.
Deteriorates. Yeah.
I wonder why that's the case.
My interpretation's a lot different. It's simply cocaine's a hell of a drug, and Guillermo must have done a hell of a lot. 'Cause I'm sitting here. Obviously, I'm not the most cultured person in the world. Usually, I don't branch out farther than America. But is this part of some kind of Spanish folk tale of the frog and the key or something, or was it just Guillermo's just this Scarface pile of flour on his desk? He's like, this will be pretty cool. I don't know what this means.
I don't know. It just gave me a big Alice in the Wonderland like vibes, because like all the crazy hallucinations that she's having and everything in her head. It was just kind of thrown at you. You just see a giant toad come out of nowhere. It's you don't know.
And
really
she's dressed like Alice in Wonderland too. The green dress with the white over. Yeah, very similar to like the classic Disney with the blue and the white. Alice in Wonderland that we know.
I'd like to see his take on that. That would be so interesting. Also, Snow White. I want to see Guillermo del Toro do Snow White. I think that would be super.
For redemption for Snow White.
Yeah, that's right. Give us a new one, please. Not Rachel. I guess for me, like, I think a lot of these situations kind of reflect a lot about Vidal's character, the stepfather, who, is really one of the main characters. We see him. He gets a lot of screen time. He's probably like top 3 characters.
More than Ofelia, I'd say.
Yeah, sometimes more than the main character almost. I think as he should. That's right, I'm telling
Joe. I think he might be up there with Jason Isaacs from the Patriots.
I knew you were going to say that for some reason. I knew you were going to say that.
Because that's my boy. He is the most evil dude ever. And then this movie came out. It's like, this guy might be up there. I think we have to talk more about what he's doing. Also, I'm kind of wondering about you guys think about this though. Do you think there was enough of a script with just the fantasy that they had to put the war aspect in it? Because it kind of feels like, you could have just made the fantasy, or you could have just had the war, but did they tie them both together because maybe they had 2 half scripts and needed to have it for theater length?
I think because he did The Devil's Backbone, which is another like a ghost story taking place during the Spanish Civil War. I think this is just his mix that he likes to. I mean, most of his fantasy work is kind of grounded in some way during, like, even Crimson Peak is, you can consider that a Victorian period piece, right? But it's a ghost story. Shape of Water too. I know there's a little bit of fantasy there, but there's still some groundness to it. So I think it's just his style that he likes to tell these stories.
That's an interesting question, Joe. I like that. Yeah. I felt, when I was watching it, I was getting kind of sick of the real world. I just wanted to be here. I think all of these fantastical moments are so strong, and it seemed like the real world stuff was definitely more of a distraction for me. But I think, gosh, I don't know. That's a great question. I don't. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy to just give you buffers. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't seem like somebody that would just fill in the space, because all of the real world stuff is important, and that's most of the story being told is through the human characters, not these weird aliens.
Well, it's still a perspective of a child too. So, right, a child that's
Right.
going through a very traumatic time. Her father's dead, right? She's introduced to this man who's a stepfather, and during her first interaction with him, even though she was trying to be, nice, trying to come to terms with it, he grabs her hand hard, right? Instead of being gentle or nice to her. He doesn't care about her, could care less about her, could care less, frankly, I think, of her mother either. So I think
Yeah.
you have to look at it as it's her imagination breaking away, right? She's the first time you meet her, she's in a book about princesses.
So
That's what I
did
was
this-
kind of thinking. Sorry, you go ahead.
So did this movie actually happen, or is it all in her mind? Because I saw this. I know it came out before Bridge of Terabithia, but I saw it right after, and that one was I went into that. I'm like, oh wow, another cool fantasy movie in the eyes of a child. No, very
That's
evil movie. But yeah, so did this actually happen at all, or was this just her coping mechanism of dealing with the worst stepfather in all human history?
I was gonna
I
say
think it's-
no, but her life is actually being risked, and she's close to death many times. So, in her head, it's actually coming true, and putting her close to death most of the time.
I like how it's sort of like you could almost interpret it either way. And by the end of the stream, we'll have enough, dialogue to kind of put us in a place where we can make that distinction, because there's so many there's a lot that happens within these three challenges that make you wonder if it's real or not. And there's one particular example towards the end of the movie, which I think if you're going to make an argument against all of these events in this fantasy world, or these fantasy encounters being real or not, it's it'll all go away with this one moment that happens. And I'm excited to get into that, because I noticed right away when it happened towards the third and final challenge, when one character isn't seen. You can't actually see, like the main the villain doesn't see the was it the Faun? It's like, okay, that's weird. We've been looking at this guy this whole time. So I don't know. But we'll get into that a little later. Well, real quick before we move on to the next portion here, one thing I want to note about this is, because I was thinking about it, because I think that this movie is deep in a lot of ways, and I think it's trying to make parallels. While you were talking, Nadia, I was thinking, what do you think? Do you think that these challenges and these weird situations she encounters with these fantastical characters, do you think this is like her own way of coping with the trials and the tribulations that are approaching her, but in a different fashion?
I definitely think
this
it's
is
her
how
way.
she's taking it.
Yeah, it's definitely her way of using these stories to kind of make sense of the violent world that she's surrounded by. Because to her, like, fairy tales aren't just fantasies; they become a form of resistance and survival for her throughout this story. And you see this quite often in a lot of wartime stories told from the perspective of children. I think is it Little Princesses or something to that extent, where it's about a girl who gets abandoned during a war period, and she creates this like fantasy world in this orphanage that she's in with her. So again, I think it's their way of coping with the trauma and the violence that's happening around them in the real world.
That's an interesting take. I think, yeah, that makes sense too, because like you said, she's just caught in books the whole time. Another like weird resemblance I kind of saw was, like I said, this toad, it's kind of like it's gluttonous, and it's what's the word? It's gluttonous and it's greedy in a way. You wouldn't think much about it, but just where he is, like I said, he just has all the food he could ever imagine. He's got it all to himself. He's not sharing it. He's alone. He's isolated, and he's enjoying all of it. Vidal, something that kind of just hit me later on, was that, he had all the resources in the entire area at his disposal. And you saw he had his warehouse full of food. He has these vibrant banquets full of delicious meals and such, and yet he is rationing all the food to the villagers. He's kind of, he's pilfering. He's not sharing the resources fairly, and I kind of see that as a resemblance here. And I think Guillermo del Toro, I think he's trying to pull a parallels between Vidal's story and these characters. That's just my last point I want to make on this. But before we move on to the challenges, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. Cass, it's always a pleasure having you on. and she made sure to check your camera, Luke. It's working.
Got it.
That's good. We saw Wilkie's here too. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate your support. Rebel Rose. That's new. Not Rachel Piercy art, but Rebel Rose. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, Progfall was wondering what happened to you, Luke. What happened?
I'm here.
He's here. He's not a ghost.
Right as ever.
Let's see. Proctofile being sweet to blue. How nice. Canyon's here. Tristan, good seeing you, buddy. He's holding his own eyeballs as they desperately watch our stream. Very nice. Endearing. Oh, look who's here, Luke. Gen X Man.
Oh,
back from the dead.
Gen X Man. We missed you.
Wow. Yep. I remember Gen X Man telling me this story. Pan's Labyrinth is one of 3 movies I walked out of. I don't know how it ends, but it ended with me because it's so dang gross and evil.
Gross.
You know,
it only gets worse at the end.
I actually didn't think it was that gross.
Yeah, you should see some movies I've seen. That's definitely not gross.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, for him. That was
evil I can understand because I mean, no spoiler to it, but when the ending, it's pretty dark, right? But this is real world. This is what happens during these times of like war and civil unrest.
I don't think it's glorifying evil.
It
definitely not with what's his face, Vidal. We are not, nobody. They are not painting him as a great character, a miracle man.
It's awful.
Tell him what time his father died. No, you will never know your name.
Like, man, what a line, Joe. Proctophile. Fun fact for you guys: Doug Jones plays most of the practical monsters in Del Toro's movies. Pale Man, the Faun, Abe the Merman, even the Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four. Number 2, he gets around. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What's he doing nowadays? I wonder if he's been in anything recently. He'll probably be in Frankenstein. I hope. That would make
I would
sense.
assume so. In some way,
he's getting kind of old.
That's why I was surprised who they casted as the monster, because I was expecting if it was Del Toro, he was going to be. But that might be why he's getting old.
Yeah,
no, that Nate guy is the new guy in Hollywood they're trying to push. So
Jacob Elordi.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nate's his name from Euphoria. Jacob, whatever his name is. They're trying to push him, it seems.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's working. Rebel Rose, we must shame her into watching all the movies. It worked on Brawler. Yep. We'll shame you, Nadia. I'm watching movies.
I'm going through Bond right now. I started with GoldenEye, so I'm working my way through Bronson. Then I'm going to do Craig, and then I'm going to circle back. So
wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm working my way through.
I need to watch all those too. Oh gosh, Progfile. Shape of Water is probably outside of Brawler's comfort zone. Yeah, from what I've heard.
We should watch that one.
Maybe we'll do a live. We'll live react to it, Joe.
Yes.
We'll just watch
do a watch party for your members. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Let's see.
I thought Shape of Water was a Hellboy prequel at one point because it did kind of look like Abe Sapien a little bit.
It does. It does. Yeah.
I always thought that too. Gen X Man, I'll become a member as soon as I overcome my old man ignorance. I'm signing up. Yeah. Yeah, it's strange. Let's see. There's a government. Let's see. Proctfile has an interesting take here. Correlations isn't always causation, especially when cocaine gets involved. Yeah, right. Yeah, he's just tripping balls. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a government or wartime backdrop to every Del Toro movie I've seen.
It is.
Weird.
Yep.
Blade 2?
I don't know about
what was that one going on?
Rebel Rose, yep.
The original stuff.
He is always dropping his feelings about government into these shows, but he does it in a way that works. That's good. Yeah, I guess with an artsy take, right? But here, let's go right on into the second. I think we just go right into the second challenge here.
The Pale Man?
Yeah. So the Pale Man, of course, this is so iconic. I've seen figures of this character for the longest time, and I was pretty excited to see this thing come to life. I've been so curious about the Pale Man for so long, and it was as disgusting and horrifying as I imagined it would be. I was disappointed that we didn't get more time with him. I wanted her to be in that room for 20 minutes. You guys?
Yeah, that was like the face of the movie. So
I think if this movie was made today, we would get a prequel of The Pale Man. Hollywood would be like,
I'm
oh, people
down,
like
bro.
it.
Oh,
Let's
The
get
Pale
a Pale
Man.
Man trilogy going on.
I think he actually perfect amount on the screen because it allows you as a viewer to kind of fill in the rest of the lore of this, right? Who were his past victims? What would he have done if he had grabbed her? Like what, and I think that leads you to kind of create your own horror in your mind versus him spelling it out on screen.
That's a good
Like,
point.
yeah.
I guess there is a lot of mystery because you don't really get much. We're probably with him
Mhm.
for like 5 to 7 minutes.
If that.
And there's a lot of questions, a lot of questions that arise from there.
I have questions. Guillermo del Toro, what were you thinking? It's like he's got hands for eyes. It'll be great.
Yeah, where do you come up with this crap?
Yeah,
Like,
I
how
thought
does
this-
He's always loved monsters. He's always loved monsters of how to tell stories through them. It's if you read or listen to his interviews about it, like Frankenstein coming out, this is a 10-year in the making, like love child of his. So he's always
Man.
loved creepy things like this since growing up.
I'm so
Makes
excited.
sense.
You're getting me hyped.
But more than that, how come no one has picked up on a trend of this movie? Because after this movie came out, I would think that every studio would be trying to recreate it, but it didn't really seem like a lot of them tried. Because after something like this, like we're talking about, he has a great flair for the monsters. No one else is trying to do this.
Yeah, especially after
surprised.
19 years.
Yeah,
He
no
likes
one
to
could
do
it?
practical effects, and nowadays with Hollywood, it's CGI for everything, for most of it, with creature design. The one movie that kind of I think changed a little bit of it was the Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out 2 or 3 years ago. They actually used practical effects, designs, puppetry, physical sets as much as they could. But I think when this movie came out, it was kind of the cross into more saving money with the CGI creatures versus something like this, because this takes time, a lot of time and effort to get this down.
But it's worth it because this is way better than any CGI thing we're seeing today.
Oh gosh,
100%. That's what I was going to ask. When you guys were watching it, since this is your first time, how did the CGI hold up for you for such as like the fairies? Because I noticed it a little bit.
Yeah, it looks. You know what?
It's good for 2006.
It's like it's kind of a tale of the time, and I think it's like I think back to a lot of. I think it comes with my interpretation of it, or my respect for let's say not kind of inaccurate CGI is during that time I watched so many movies that were great that didn't have the best CGI. So when I see that, for whatever reason, just as someone that's enjoyed those old titles with bad CGI, it's almost endearing to see it not as great as it could be. It didn't take me out at all. It kind of, for me, it sort of added into this fantastical world because it obviously wasn't like, crystal clear, definitely realistic. I thought it was kind of part of the charm.
Well, with the Pale Man, his legs are CGI'd.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But having half of it be practical in the camera's view, I think helps blend it a little bit better. Plus, it's like you're saying, it's a fantasy story, so you give it a little bit of grace, right, on it. But even the prosthetic, when the captain has the cut on his lip too, that looks fantastic.
Yeah, looks
because
good.
it's a practical effect. Nowadays, they would have just CGI'd it, right?
And they'd be way
effect.
overboard.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, the legs probably freaked me out the most. I did not expect him to have those little dinky twig legs. I guess that shows he's been sitting here a very long time. This is like an inactive Pale Man. I think I loved one of my favorite like mini moments in this sequence. I love the lineage of the Pale Man. It's not exactly clear if it's him or if it was like, an ancestor or another in the species, but you see, paintings along the wall of the Pale Man eating children, killing and eating children. And I thought it was like, wow, they went there. And it makes sense because, you look at this thing and it's like, yeah, looks like he would do that.
I look at him as similar to the witch and Hans and Gretel, right? Story where it's about gluttony and, fattening up one kid to eat, but the other kid turns into, in a sense, like a servant for the witch and never eat. But it's very similar to me. It feels like a parallel to it. I don't know.
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, this whole like banquet scene is literally just here to tempt whoever,
Mhm.
whichever poor soul's coming in here, because obviously he's just kind of waiting for it. And of course, once he's triggered to act once Ophelia eats one of the grapes. Which I'm kind of curious, like what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think that this banquet is just like a good looking banquet, or do you think it has like magical properties? Because I think she was, she knew pretty clearly that this was a really serious situation, and I don't know how on earth she could eat in front of this thing. How could you be in the same room as this disgusting, pale, naked dude and eat? Like, where's your appetite?
I just don't know why she didn't like destroy the eyeballs when she had them in her hand. I mean,
Mm.
that's a
Or at
source
least
of
throw them on the
power.
ground or something.
Right. I mean, do something with them. Just she was too subtle in this whole scene before it started chasing her. Like, it's not right.
So did you guys think it was enchanted, or do you think that she was just falling into temptation?
Temptation, I say. I don't.
Yeah.
If it was something magical going on, we would have saw like an aura or something like that, like a little hue of something off of it. But I think maybe she was just extremely hungry and just said, "Yeah, what could possibly happen?"
I have a picture of this.
It's
Yeah, here we
reflective
go.
to the famine that's happening, right? Not famine, but the rations and also that, the captain really doesn't care about her, so she's probably not eating at the banquet that he puts on. And and also this is a banquet similar to the banquet he has with all those guests.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think that's it's a weird parallel. I might have an image of that. I don't know if I saved it or not. No, I didn't. Because I saw there was literally there was like a file I found online, and it's both banquets and they look exactly the same. And you have Vidal, and he's sort of like the head of the table sitting on the end there. But like this whole challenge here was pretty interesting. So the Faun wanted her to go into this space. She opened up kind of a portal in a way. She by taking this piece of chalk and just drawing a square on a wall, and she was able to just push right through, enter, and she sees this banquet here. She was under demand, do not eat anything. And I think it was like there was like stakes to this. If you do this, you will not live forever in this fantasy world where you are destined to rule over. That's gone out the window. And this was sort of like her trial by fire to either protect her innocence or diminish her innocence by disobeying that rule. And of course she does disobey it, and this point leads to a lot of serious consequences that come right after this. And I think, like I said earlier, that was one of my one of the aspects of this movie I respect the most, was seeing just how far one little mistake can make. Because it happens a lot in our lives where we do one stupid little thing and it just compounds and it compounds. Somebody figures out about it. It affects this area of your life. It affects this relationship. And that's exactly what happens here. Kind of inadvertently sometimes, even with the mother, which I think we'll talk about pretty soon, but not just yet. So you were talking about, Nadia, you mentioned how you saw a resemblance to the banquet. Do you guys think that there was any other lessons we were supposed to learn about this situation here?
To me, it kind of like almost like the Adam and Eve thing, where he said, "Don't eat the apple," and then what did Eve do? The first thing she did was eat the apple. So I kind of also wonder if James Gunn would have directed this.
Oh no! Don't give me that what if.
I wrote this down for. I was like, if James Gunn would have directed this, would the Faun have comedically reprimanded her afterwards?
Oh,
like what did I just tell you? I told you one thing: don't eat anything, and the first thing you did was eat something.
Oh my gosh, that makes me want to die, bro. That's bad.
So with her disobeying the order, so by the grapes, and then also later on refusing to harm her brother, her, I think, disobedience kind of reflects true mortality in a sense, unlike Vidal's blind authoritism on it. So there's like a balance between obedience versus moral choice.
Okay, that makes sense. Man, Nadia, she's cooking right now.
Sorry.
I respect.
Sorry, I don't have any cocaine jokes. I'm sorry.
That's right. I mean, come on, Del Toro's doing it.
Yeah.
No, I think like with me, I saw something strange. You know, I think it's like I was trying to like piece together what it was, and I think there's obviously there's sort of like, you know, everybody is put in line, like everyone has to be obedient. You know, the poor mother has to be obedient to Vidal, the little girl. She's following rules from both sides of the story, whether it's the demanding adults in her life in reality, or the Faun, which is supposed to be a weird, compassionate yet kind of concerning role model mentor in her life. But I was also, you know, something I noticed was, you know, the pale man, it feasts on the innocence, right? And it spoils on the innocence. He eats children, which are the epitome of innocence, and just beautiful innocence. And I think, you know, we sort of see that with Vidal, where he has a lot of different figures involved, especially those two poor rabbit hunters in the very beginning, where he kind of, you know, he's kind of led to believe that they're not these evil, you know, the evil rebels that he thinks they are, yet he just butchers them like they're nothing. And we see this time and time again when he has an opportunity to be a little bit more merciful or to show some resemblance of humanity, yet he chooses not to. And I see like a weird tie there where it's like, you know, they're both kind of feasting on the innocence in a really strange, evil way. But, you know, like you said, just kind of comparing it to the dinner table scene, of course, with gluttony, which is such a weird thing to think about him because he doesn't look like a gluttonous character. But I think gluttony could be like, it can be exemplified in so many different fashions. So
Yeah. I think
cool.
it's more so
Absolutely.
about the power to be able to provide it and have it versus the rebels in the forest who, you know, are living on scraps that are handed to them by the people who have saved. That's why he moves from giving each family one, like, what are they called, rations, versus each individual, to stop those families from giving food to the rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it kind of worked. Well, no, not really, because something later happens. We're about to get into the rebellion side of the story because, you know, like we were talking about, that is a pretty major element. Something I forgot to mention earlier was I love this strange mandrake character that goes into the story, the magical root man. And what happens before this, before she goes on to this challenge, she kind of pleads with the Faun to help her mother because she's dying, and she's, you know, going through excruciating pain. There's nobody's really able to help her. None of the medicine's working. And he provides this weird magical root character, and she's supposed to put it in milk and kind of feed it underneath her bed. And for the longest time, it works. And you know, nothing else has been helping out at this point. This was a nice thing the Faun did. He's not really doing many nice things for poor Ofelia, and this was really helping. But, you know, after this challenge happens, this is where we start to see a lot of the goodwill from this fantastical world kind of go to waste even further, because the mom eventually discovers this thing after Vidal pulls it out from under the bed, and he kind of freaks out about it. She handles it, and she takes this cute little root character, and she thinks that her daughter's hysterical. She's caught in her imagination, and she chucks the little root man into the fire pit. And for me, this was probably the most painful scene of the whole movie, because I don't know what it was. I loved this little root man. And of course, right after this, the mom goes into labor and dies. So this was a tough scene to watch, but that was a strange aspect of the film I really enjoyed, was this strange root character.
It's pretty frustrating.
Why was the mother with this guy? It just seems like
money.
Why? Yeah, but what was his opening move to her? I'm just wondering. Like, hey, wanna watch me kill this dude?
Well, you get the background story that her husband was initially his tailor for all his suits. And obviously the rebellion lost during the Civil War, right? So he comes back, and I think she probably looks at him as, this is stability for me and my daughter. You know, this is stability for us to to not have to scrape by. So that could be it.
Yeah, probably.
It seemed like she made the choice to be with him. I was trying. That felt weird to me. It didn't seem like she was like stuck with him necessarily, even though she looked miserable. I don't know if I just read that wrong or not, though.
I mean,
No, she was miserable.
She's a widow with a child during this time. I mean, there's not much options she probably has floating around, so she probably looks again at. But it's weird because you get the dinner table scene where the two ladies ask her like, "How did you guys meet?" And she's almost giving this like fairy tale romance type story, right, about it, like love that comes back to you and stuff. And he kind of dismisses it, right? He's just like, this is just all in her head. She doesn't know how to talk to company.
Yeah, that was lame.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he said that, I'm like, man, what a douche. Like, come on, she's
just
being
the
nice.
worst.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. This guy is literally Jason Isaacs level in The Patriots.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where we met, Joe. That's where we met
Yeah,
all that time ago.
yes, it was.
Look what's come. That's great. But you know, we keep going back to the time during to the reality, right? We're pulling a lot from that, just little hints of it, but yet reality, the real, 1944 planet Earth is actually, there's a lot going on here. While all of these fantastical engagements are kind of set in the foreground, while all this is happening, the resistance is slowly kind of making waves at cutting down Vidal's forces. And it's kind of hard to tell who's exactly on top of who. But, there's a lot of conflict because two of the main characters that we're following, which is the doctor and this other girl, I believe her name's Mercedes, they're spies, kind of. Mercedes is an informant, and her brother is with the rebels. So she's kind of, letting them know what's going on behind the scenes. And the doctor is kind of helping out both sides of the story. It makes for an interesting drama for sure. It's definitely, to me, it is a little bit distracting from what I think we all probably want to see, which is the fantasy stuff, which we keep mentioning. But I'm kind of wondering, why do you think, because we get this really intense engagement between Mercedes and Vidal right after he finds out that she is the informant, she's the snitch, and that she's been causing so much trouble. And both of them nearly kill each other. I'm kind of wondering, what do you guys think is the reason why she didn't kill him? Why didn't that happen? Because she screwed him up. There's no doubt about that. But why didn't she just finish him off there? I was kind of curious about that.
I think she wanted him to suffer. That's what I got from it, because I mean, she did enough where he was suffering. He was trying to drink away his pain and trying to forget.
That's such a great prosthetic on that.
I know, that's great. How
did they do that?
Joker.
I see the seam underneath the eye coming down, but it's just a full blown prosthetic piece that they just put attached and blended in. It's great. It's great.
Practical effects are so much better than CGI. I mean,
it is. And one of my teachers always said, if you can do realistic prosthetics, so like if you can do something like this, or maybe change somebody into somebody from the past, and it looks legit, like real, you've mastered special effects. Like you've done it on it. But yeah, that looks great.
So why don't you guys think why don't you think she finished him off? You didn't answer the question.
It's kind of a tough, I don't know, it just seems like she didn't want to go through with it. I don't know, it just seems like I'm trying to think, like, yes, she had him dead to rights, but to go that extra mile, maybe she would lose something about it. I don't know. She should have done it. She obviously should have done it, because if he would have gotten up, she would have been dead. But I really don't know why. Did she just lose all the nerve at that point?
I think she's not a killer. I think that's it. I mean,
that's
it's like,
what it is.
I don't know why. She's in the background. She's the wife of the guy that is more involved, probably. So I think she's trying to be helpful in a way that she can. And I don't blame her for not wanting to do that. I would never want that to be my situation. So I don't think she knows how to handle it. And it's kind of surprising she even did what she did, because she jacked him up and somehow he survived. They really brushed this off pretty well, because she slices his face and she stabs him like 3 times, like
Slices his
pretty
back
big,
open.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
big gashes there. So he took it like a champ. But yeah, don't really understand that. I'm kind of wondering, so we're talking about Vidal and how he's practically, he's pure evil throughout the whole movie. I'm kind of wondering what you guys think. So, do you guys think that Vidal's obsession over his newborn son is blinding him from all of the real hints of what's actually going on around him during the revolution?
Absolutely. He was walking through the battlefield like there was nothing going on. And in reality, around him, there was explosions and people dying right before his eyes. And he was just so focused on the baby and trying to catch up to Ofelia.
That's a good point. Yeah, he's kind of, yeah, you're right. I mean, he ignored a serious battle that was happening towards the end just to get the baby, which I mean makes sense, but still, he could have been present.
I mean, I'm a parent now, I would have done the exact same thing. So,
Joe, you be loyal to your men.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know, my son. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I'm trying to think, what would I do in that situation if it's my soldiers or my son? What would I do? I don't know. I honestly can't answer that now.
Well, the soldiers have the means to defend themselves, and the son doesn't. So I think that makes sense to take precedent.
Yeah,
not emotionally.
I think it just plays to culture at the time too, because throughout history, sons are always looked as like you're leaving your legacy, you're extending your dynasty in a sense. And we get that little bit of snippet about his own father briefly during the little group that eats and stuff, the little banquet that he had. And you could see how his reaction to his own father, I think that's just a cultural thing. Having girls are kind of thrown to the side.
Yeah.
I mean, look how he treats his own stepdaughter in a sense too. So
yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice if he tried to form a nice relationship with her, because she was a nice girl, sweet, no trouble at all, creative. Yeah, that would have been nice. She wasn't causing any trouble for him either. It's not like she was taking away from his position or anything. She wasn't annoying at all.
If it was a stepson, I wonder how different his opinions would have been with her. Yeah. Like you said, he definitely undervalued what women were in that culture of it. So maybe if it was a stepson, he would have probably taken him under his wing more than not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but during time of war and in the past, weren't women utilized as spies or informants because men didn't expect that from them, right? I feel like that's part of history, but maybe I'm making it up in my own head.
Sounds right.
I could definitely see that happening. Especially in
Joe is the source of all knowledge.
I'm just saying, if I'm, battling, on all these wars all day, just talk to a nice little milkmaid, want to divulge all my feelings and opinions and stuff like that.
This is what James O'Keefe's company's doing, right? Sending girls on dates with these dudes, and they're like opening up about government secrets and stuff. So
I think we should have had a much deeper movie with things like that, probably.
They did serve as spies in World War II.
See? Yeah. Okay.
Good job, Nadia.
I thought it was in my head.
No, yeah. I assumed it sounds like a good plan. I think I was watching, what was it? There was a World War II series. It came out kind of recently. I didn't like it at all. I actually got through like 5 episodes though. I don't know what it was called. I think it was about the SAS. It's like the British Special Forces. Is it the
American? No.
I don't watch any war movies.
Okay, well, whatever. It was British Special Forces, and there was like some woman involved, and she was a spy, and I think she kind of played as sort of a. She wasn't like a seductress.
Okay, yeah, her.
I think I don't know. Did you say Peggy Carter?
I did.
Oh, nice. There you go. There's your proof right there, Peggy.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, okay. So while we're on the topic of Vidal, because he's such an interesting character, we spent a lot of time with him. Do you guys have any idea why you thought he was like so staunchly evil? Because I mean, he really showed no kind of grace towards anyone, man or woman, except the newborn baby. That was it. Do you
You
think
said
there's
it
any
yourself.
reasoning? Do you think there's
Excuse
any
Means
reasoning?
Hitler.
Excuse me for a second, okay? This is why I don't care for the Geneva Convention. If I'm here to win a war, I'm not
gosh.
here to do it nicely, okay? This dude, as evil as he is, as evil as Jason Isaacs and the Patriot was, they were getting the job done. They were ensuing fear. They were taking it to these rebels, and I wonder, does that change him at any point of his life? Did he start off as this nice guy, and then he saw the horrors of war and said, "Okay, well, I have to go about this a different direction"? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm with Joe, man. Like you
Thank you.
war. Granted, I think he represents the face of fascism, right, during the time, right, and the extremeness of the Spanish Civil War as it's happening. But yeah, in war you don't play nice. This is not. Oh, we'll just tap you. You want to, in a sense, dominate. So yeah, I think he's just meant to represent that.
How
Plus,
could he have possibly played it nicer? That's the thing.
His dad's a soldier as well, so look at maybe there's some kind of generational trauma kind of happening there too, maybe.
I mean, also just the horrors of war too. That will definitely change you. I mean, we had Saving Private Ryan stream talking about it. Yeah,
just reeks dictatorship. They power hungry. Everyone agrees with him. Everyone's afraid of him.
Yeah.
He knows that everybody will listen to him despite what he wants. So that's how it was. So.
I think it's interesting. I like it when movies, kind of, they don't. I don't know how to phrase this. They sort of set the tone early on with like one serious conflict, one serious show of power, and I think I think Tarantino movies do it best, really, where you don't like you're not sure how far a movie's going to go until he hits you with it right in the face, right up front. There you go. Wake up. Watch this movie. I thought that was the case with Vidal in the very beginning when he encounters the rabbit hunters pretty early on, and my gosh, he has a brutal display which makes it clear as crystal that this guy is beyond just pure evil. I mean, this guy is there's no goodwill for him, and I think I admire a show of a risky take like that, where they just kind of punch you in the face with something kind of maybe not graphic, but something kind of shocking to show that to put you in your place to understand just how far a movie is willing to go. Because from that point on, there are a lot of graphic scenes. I mean, like Gen X Man said earlier, I think this movie is gross. I think it's disgusting, and I wouldn't exactly say it's gory disgusting. I think maybe it's like graphic and just how, well,
that's why I don't watch horror movies. That's why, because to me, those effects and the things that happen to that's real. That's stuff that actually does happen versus a horror movie, a slasher movie, and such. So I can understand why some people would find it gross.
Well, I know Gen X Man, he watches all kinds of stuff. I know him and I both love war movies. And I think, I appreciate seeing things that way, like you said, Nads, because, I think an appropriate place to see something graphic is a war film, so you can understand how awful it is and how there's no escaping that. And to see the gravity of simply just a story or the words on a page. I think movies do such a great job painting the whole picture, and as awful as it is to see that, I think he was probably referring to just the design. I think there's something just so disgusting. Maybe it's not even just like tone wise or setting wise, but just these characters, the way they ooze, how gross they are, their textures. It's such an immersive, fantastical world that's so twisted that I think it's like that's something that makes this film just stick out above all the other fantasy horror films that I've seen, because it feels like it's one of a kind.
Now with the scene with the rabbits, that was when he punched that dude's face in right with the gun.
Yeah.
Imagine his soldiers, because it wasn't even like it was a display where there were a lot of civilians there. Like, hey, this will be you next. It was just these two guys. So the only people to witness that were his own men. So imagine them. The psychological aspect of like, oh, if I disobey, I'm next.
Yeah,
that's why I think he goes so far, because it's all for a reason, I think. Or he's a psychopath. Who knows?
Well, yeah, right. I mean, he doesn't really have that to show anybody. It's not an example to the villagers. It doesn't even really seem like it's an example to the soldiers. It's like he's just doing it
He
because
enjoys it.
Yeah,
That one
or he's
soldier moved
totally
out of the way.
unfazed. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's something I noticed about him was, when he was doing that, when he was beating that poor guy in, completely emotionless. I mean, I was about to say stiff as a board. That's not in that
I
way.
was.
But you were, Joe. Yikes.
Whoa.
They'll call you World War Joe for
Hey
nothing.
now.
This is a family-friendly show, Joe.
I'm toning it down a little bit. But I
Oh,
Yeah,
like how,
demonetized here.
Yeah.
But I like
man.
when he shot the father, how the other soldier just instantly moved out of the way, like they've done this before.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Oh,
they've
here
seen
we
this.
go
Yeah.
again.
They've probably been following him around for quite some time. But here, let's move on to the final challenge in the story. After poor Ophelia's mom just died, she's practically all alone. The Faun made it clear to her in her last engagement, you screwed up. I'm done with you. You're not going into this fantastical world that has been promised to you. You're on your own. So it's really just her and Mercedes here. And then Mercedes is kind of trying to leave too. So she's really unsure what to do. She's really lost. And the Faun is so kind, such the kind, loving Faun. He appears one last time and he gives her a choice. We can make this work. There's redemption for you after all, but you have to do exactly what I say when I say it, no matter how you feel. And she's desperate, I mean, he's taking advantage of her situation here. And she, of course, agrees. And the new challenge, the final challenge that has been listed since, the very beginning, which she finally learns what it is, it's a test of sacrifice. It's to shed the blood of the innocent, even though she doesn't really know that's what's happening yet. She has to bring her newborn brother, the son of Vidal, to the Labyrinth. And then from there, once she heads on down to the Labyrinth, she's, not exactly sure what's going to happen here. Not really optimistic. This doesn't look like a bright sight to become. The Faun asks for a few drops of the baby's blood to open the portal to the underworld. And if she did this, for whatever reason, that would mean that she gets to live this eternity in royalty forever. And she gets to escape this hell that she's in right now. That's a pretty big prospect, leaving this awful situation she's in to be in the place she's really destined to be in. But she chooses not to do it because it's wrong and she thinks it's evil. And I respect that she made that choice. I didn't expect her to do that. And I thought that the Faun might force her hand. That didn't happen. So she refuses the option and chooses the innocence over being blindly obedient. And while all this is happening, Vidal, he's been chasing her the whole time. He appears. There's something to note here. He appears where the two are. She is holding the baby, and the Faun is right in front of her. He is nowhere to be seen. Vidal is not seeing the Faun. The Faun is not in the room at this point, even though he really is. So that's where we raise the question, is he actually real or not? We'll get to that soon. But when this happens, Vidal shoots her and she bleeds out. And while this is happening, she's leaning over the labyrinth hole and the blood rushes into the hole. And I guess this act kind of proves that she is kind of innocent, or that this whole movie self-sacrifice. And everything that she's been going through has led her up to this point, and all of it's been a trial of its own, because she does die in the real world, but she comes back in this new eternal life of happiness, where she sees her parents. They're on these weird giant erected thrones, and she is now she's back where she belongs in royalty. And I believe it's the goat, or maybe it's the dad, reveals that all of this was a test from the start, and you were never supposed to shed blood of the innocents. I think I have a picture of that here. No, I don't. That's a shame. But I guess my question for you guys is, what do you think would have happened if she had followed the Faun's request?
Ooh, I don't
I
know,
know that's a dark question.
but also, is this just another Bible reference, like what God telling Abraham to kill Isaac, and he doesn't? So I'm kind of
Might
wondering, is the
be.
same thing as the Adam and Eve thing as well? So I'm kind of wondering
Hmm.
how many biblical references are in this. But I was a little surprised at this part though. I thought the Faun was going to be the bad guy in the end, where he had some ulterior motive the entire time, that he was maybe just using her to get into this kingdom to take over. So I was a little bit surprised that he was kind of playing it straight for most of
That
this
could
movie.
be
It
it.
seemed.
That could be it.
Yeah, I thought maybe like he's like a devil character trying to.
Yeah.
Or I
Looks
don't
like
know.
one.
The horns are there. Yeah. So I wonder if there is something to this. I don't know.
He's just mischievous. He just reeks the aroma of mischief. He's guiding her to uh, eternity, like of royalty, and here we are not knowing whether that's true or not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's his words. I mean, he's just saying that. He's trying to sacrifice her own baby brother. What happens after that? She just has to live with that.
What happens to him after she just disappears and he's stuck there?
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious of what he gains out of this.
Mm.
Mm.
I don't know. I just got a real like anti not anti-hero, but like a bad force vibe out of this guy. He kind of reminded me of, I'm just gonna make a little reference real quick, Khonshu, the invisible entity in Moon Knight's head, trying to guide him to do things for him. Kind of just reminded me of Khonshu, and made me think whether he's
that's a weird resemblance, but yeah, I could see it.
well,
It
it
makes
made sense to
when
me.
you say it.
He
Yeah,
disappears,
right. You put it like that, it makes a lot of sense that maybe he did have something else that he wanted to do that could be explored in a different movie.
Couldn't get that out of
Well,
my head.
With folklore, fawns always represent some sort of like nature, like an ancient power in the sense, the unknown, usually throughout folklore. So if he represents nature, nature has like a two-sided coin in a sense, right? You can have a really nice sunny day, or you can have a really windy day. So I think he's not good, but he's not evil. He's just in between. And I think not forcing her to do these is giving her her own choices, because at the end, this is what happens is the consequences of her actions.
Yeah.
Throughout. I brought up to the point of like, is this real, right? I always thought of it as it could be real, because in folklore and in myths and stuff, children are so innocent, they're able to almost see those type of worlds. And then as we age into adults, we kind of forget it. Like we forget our imaginations and stuff. Look at like Peter Pan and the Lost Boys and such. So I always thought that maybe it is real. It's just he can't see it because he's so hardened. He doesn't have the imagination or the willpower, the space to see these things, where she's a child, so that she does see these things. Similar to like ghost stories of like children always seeing ghosts, but in spirits, versus adults don't. Kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, I think I think a perfect bridge to confirm that it is real, and is that the magical root character, it made a serious difference. I mean, the mom, I believe she's been trying some medical supplements. Nothing was working. And once Ofelia stuffed the funny magical root under her, made a pretty big difference. And once the root died, then there you go. She dies practically on the spot after giving birth. I mean, that's a pretty big example. I mean, how else do you describe that engagement? Maybe it doesn't. I don't know how you could excuse that being like there being some other force that was where that was making it happen, where she was for whatever reason better because of that. That's where I defend it. But it just makes you wonder. It's so curious, because I mean, the whole time, obviously nobody is seeing any of these characters. I think the only time another being sees one of these creatures is when the pale man stuffs those poor little fairies in his mouth and eats them. So they could obviously.
That was hard
see
to watch
better.
almost.
But I mean,
Yeah.
she's the only child too. The rest of them are all adults. Throughout this whole movie, she is the only child in the entire cast. So
I think I think if they wanted to go with the this is all in her head route, they would have done some little breadcrumbs early on. Let's say for like the Pale Man, each one represented maybe someone else she saw. Like maybe there was a gluttonous character in where she lived, and then it's like, oh, then I meet the frog, and maybe there was some kind of a long, lanky cook that didn't want her eating the food, and then oh, we see the Pale Man later on though. So yeah, it probably did happen all real for her. That's something because I think Guillermo del Toro was a good enough writer that he could have put in breadcrumbs if he wanted us to think that it was all imaginary in her head.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. So do you guys I like that we're talking about sort of the gray area with the Faun, because I think the Faun it's such an interesting it's really, it's one of the highlights of this movie for me. I loved the Faun. I thought he was so it's really exciting to try to figure out if it was evil or not, because at the end of the day, it's in this eternal paradise. So it makes you wonder if this is like almost a different version of it or something, because from all of the for all the time we spent with the Faun in the real world, or in present time 1944, it's pretty bleak. He's dark, he's kind of sick, kind of demented a little bit, and then you see him in this like afterlife, and he's happy and he's flowing, and it seems like he's bright and colorful. It seemed like two totally different characters altogether. So I guess is the final judgment we're making on the Faun that he's like just kind of in between, or is there something maybe more wicked about him that we haven't really figured out yet?
Now there's something up about that guy. The more I'm looking at him, it's like I don't. He got those shifty eyes. The devil. I'm telling. There's definitely a Bible reference here, because he's got those devil horns on his head too.
I think he's just a guide, similar to like the guide of the afterlife in Greek mythology. He's just somebody, again, he's just going to lay out the paths. You as the individual with your free will choose, like, which path you're going to be taking down. So I don't think he's evil or good, because there were plenty of times where he could have been evil. The only time he's really yelled at her is when the consequence of her actions by eating those grapes. So I don't, and he could have easily taken that baby and probably killed that kid, right?
That's true. Yeah.
I mean it kind of worked out for him. They needed the blood of the innocent, and then a second later the lad shoots the girl. He's like, hey, that kind of worked out for me. I'm in heaven.
Yeah, so
now.
I'm wondering if that counted as blood of the innocent, because she
It
wasn't really
does,
innocent because she ate the grapes.
Well, it did, because she went to wherever she went, that nice, beautiful place.
I'm wondering though if that like didn't have anything to do with the blood of the innocents at all. If that was just like what was going to happen no matter what, or that was going to happen just because she did the right thing, regardless of that, of the idea of the blood of the innocent.
I think it's innocent because, in a sense, she self-sacrificed herself because she didn't want to hurt her brother.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is in the realm of being a blood of the innocents.
That's fair. Let's see what the chat has to say real quick before we wrap things up. Doc Kaiju, thanks for joining us. Good seeing you. I don't think I've maybe had you in the chat one other time. Thanks for joining us, Doc Kaiju.
What's up, Doc?
Let's see.
Can you see Proctophiles? One about the Geneva suggestion.
Oh no! What have you done, Joe? What are you inspiring in the chat?
I think I've referenced that like every stream I've been on so far.
What, the Geneva Convention?
Yes.
Are you talking about all of my streams, or just?
I think so. Yes.
Stream?
All three I've been on, I've mentioned it.
Oh, that's funny. All right, let's see.
Rebel Rose. It's not.
Look at that. See, Proctophile's not that much older than us, Luke. I usually just remind myself that I'm only like a decade older than Luke and Brawler. See, that's not that bad. He's not an old head.
Not too bad.
Proctophile. It's basically nothing, but with how much things have advanced since I was a kid, it's hard to keep things in perspective. Yeah, I mean, 2006. That's so weird to think about that this is that old. Really weird. And gosh, you guys mentioned a movie. Gosh, you mentioned a movie earlier, and I think. Oh wait, what was it? You mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, Nadia, and you said that was like 2 or 3 years ago. That's crazy. It was that long ago. I remember when that came out. It does not feel like it was that.
It doesn't,
long
does it?
ago. No.
Yeah,
that was a fun one. I enjoyed that.
as a D&D fan, I did enjoy that too. What's up?
Oh, Papa Pumpkin, the Gourd
Hey,
King.
Gourd.
Good to have you in the chat, man.
Gourd
Hail from
King,
the
hey.
Terminal List stream.
Also-
Long time.
Also,
no
not
here.
to derail the stream, but anybody in the chat and stuff, make sure you can receive gifts from this channel. You have to like go into your own account and say like you can receive gifts. That could be why it didn't hit people that
that's
are
weird.
currently in the chat. So
Oh, well, thanks for doing that, Nadia. That was nice of you.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, Project File says, safe bet that it's a biblical reference. Weird that no one references the Torah, though. That version of Abraham's story was pretty different. Huh.
Oh, okay.
Project File, so informative. Project File, you're lucky the eclectic goat isn't here, Joe. I'm sure she'd have some words for you about that Faun.
I should message her and ask her opinion of it.
Where was his?
It's up a few. There's a
I'm
few
gonna
people
look.
talk about Joe's love of war crimes.
I'm trying to find it.
Rebel Rose brings it up too.
Oh gosh,
It's not a war crime if there's no witnesses.
Oh, here we go. Wait, is it now that I'm this one?
Oh no, it says
No,
you
no,
mean
no.
Geneva
Man, I can't find it.
suggestion.
I can't find it. Sorry, man. It's good stuff though. Well, I think we've pretty much covered most of this film of Pan's Labyrinth. You know, one question I'm kind of left with at the end of the day: why is it even called Pan's Labyrinth? Who is Pan? What is Pan's
Does
Labyrinth?
it translate to something?
Who's Pan?
I feel like Pan and wasn't Pan a fawn?
There must be a hell of a documentary about this movie because I feel like there's so many little
Oh,
breadcrumbs along the way with this. So it's
he's
gotta be
not a
something
pun, but
incredible.
in Greek mythology, he's a body of a man with legs of horns of a goat.
Oh, all right, nice. Cool. Well, before we go, do you guys want to talk about some of the exciting things going on? I know, Nadia, you have a charity stream coming up. You want to tell everybody
Ooh.
about that?
Yes, so Saturday I'll be streaming for 8 hours straight. I'll be
Ooh.
raising money and awareness for Kayla's Comfort, which is a nonprofit organization that puts together care packages for patients that are normally children while they're going through things like infusions for a autoinflammatory disease called chronic recurring multifocal osteomyelitis. I have it. I was diagnosed almost 10 years ago. They helped me when I was first diagnosed, so I want to pay it forward. So I've got a bunch of people coming on, circling through the time. We're going to play some games, hang out, and then I have every $50, I'll be watching a video that will torture myself.
Nice.
Spider
Awesome, that's
videos or
great.
something.
Oh,
Oh,
So, yeah,
gosh.
so this Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, make sure to check that out,
Cool.
everybody. Great. What about
Yep.
you, Joe?
I got a lot of music coming up, a lot of headline news. Avatar. It seems like James Cameron can't shut up about it. So every week he says something new that just spoils the movie. I don't know what the tactic is, but if you're telling me that the main villain of it is going to be in the next 2 movies,
Oh,
I guess I know
yeah.
what happens. Sorry for spoiling it for everyone.
Well, it's all right. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody. There's no substance there, so we're not missing out. One thing I want to shout out real quick is, I'll be joining Nadia Saturday, so be sure to join us on her channel. That'll be fun. 12 p.m. post time. You said post, right?
Pacific.
Or
So
Pacific.
it'll be
Pacific. See, I don't even know the time
3
zones.
or 4 Eastern, I think. I don't know. It's 3
Okay.
hours. I'm 3 hours behind you.
Great. Nice. So, join us for that. Also, this Sunday is a big day because I'm also doing something similar to Nadia, and it's a big pill to swallow. And I hope I could do it. I know I could do it. I've never done anything like it in my life. I'm going to be doing a very long stream to discuss and break down and rank all 74 Goosebumps episodes in one day. This Sunday, starting at 10:30 a.m., Particular Critic and I, we've watched all the episodes, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And, we're going to bring up lots of fun pictures, get into each one of them, have some fun anecdotes. Be sure to join us for that and tell us your stories. Tell us what your rankings are. You can participate, and we'd love to have your support and your say, because I think all those episodes, we all have certain, fond memories of each one that's touched us in different ways. So that'll be a lot of fun. It's been a real pleasure watching all those. But at the end of the day, thank you all for watching today. We appreciate you. Checking out the channel. I'll see you Sunday. Check us out 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. And thank you all for joining us here. Nadia, World War Joe, and Luke. We'll see you guys later.
See you, everyone.
person are you? Are you the kind that sees signs